Welcome to this session. We are dealing with Moksha Purushartha, the fourth of the Purushartha. And in the previous session, we were in a position to identify the main culprit behind we being limited, we being tormented, harassed, vexed, incapacitated, sorrowed, etc. So the main culprit is said to be Janana Marana Chakram, the wheel of birth and death. And on the wheel of birth and death, we move from various life forms, which are estimated to be 8.4 million classes. And we keep on rotating in some manifestation or the other depending upon our karmas. If we perform sinister karmas, we go to subhuman manifestation. If we perform superhuman karmas, we go to celestial manifestations. And of course, come back to human manifestation after our bhoga or taking the fruitions of our karmas in those subhuman, superhuman planes. We have a tenure, and once those karmas are experienced, our tenure comes to an end and we come back to human form. So from subhuman life forms we come back to human forms. From superhuman life forms we come back to human life forms. But then we move in the manifestation which starts from life and ends with death by being on the wheel, and therefore we have timeless existence. So main culprit was said to be Janana Marana Chakram. All other things, such as we identify that the limitation is due to a person, due to a thing, due to a situation, we try to blame them and we hold them culprits. That a person is responsible for whatever bandha, maryada, limitation, bondage, etc. Or a thing, we hold a thing as a responsible for all that. Or we hold responsible the situations in which we are caught. Desha Kala Samaya, time, space, situations are identified as culprits. While the philosophers tell us that main culprit is the life and birth cycle in which we are caught. So we ended the previous session with this particular point. So point is, now we proceed today. The point is that we had previous human manifestations. Apart from other manifestations due to karmas, we also had countless human manifestations. Now, in each of the previous manifestations, particularly in human form and generally in all form, we don't have any memory of it. Say, for instance, in my previous life, had I been a human being, I have no memory of it. Had I been an ant or animal or bird or creature, I have no memory of that. So all that is gone into oblivion. So in the Purva Janmas, in Purva births, the earlier births, What sense or nonsense we did, we have no clue. What did we do? How did we do something? Why did we do something? What havoc did we play? What nonsense did we entertain? All that is unknown, and this ignorance is a bliss. This ignorance is a bliss. Not all ignorances are bliss. But this particular ignorance as to what did we do in our previous incarnations, previous births, we have no clue to it, no clue about it, and we are totally ignorant about it. What nonsense did we entertain? What havoc did we play? What vices did we commit? We have no memory of all that. What shameful things we did in our previous manifestations, we have no clue, no slightest memory about it. And it is because of that, the present life, if we have enjoyments or sukha or pleasure, it is untainted. It is not spoiled because of lack of memory of previous incarnations of ours. Suppose we had any memory of our previous incarnations and the deeds in previous incarnations, the nonsenses of previous incarnations, the blunders of previous incarnations, this would have spoiled our experience in present life. So, it's a great blessing. So that ignorance is not only a bliss, but that ignorance is also a great blessing. Imagine if you knew what you did in your past lives, previous life, what you did, if you got some idea about it, it would have tainted your pleasurable, delightful experience of present time. So, in that sense, it is important that we don't have any memory of our previous incarnations. However, it should be noted that we have them in some other form, not as a memory, not as a recollection, but as samskars. We do have samskars from our previous incarnations, previous births. Purva Janma samskaras are very much there. Now they might be suitable or unsuitable. They might be heya or upadeya. They might be acceptable or rejectable. They might be vighataka or vidhayaka. So these samskars of the previous lives can be vidhayaka, that is constructive, and vighataka, that is destructive. So, in some way, the memory is playing a role, not as a memory. Thank God we don't remember. But the samskar, in the form of samskars, we do have impressions of our previous manifestations, our previous existences. So they might be vidhayak or vigatak. They might be playing a constructive role in present life, or they can be playing a destructive role in present life. They might be heya or upadeya, acceptable or rejectable. That is also a point to be noted here. Now, a satsanga tells us sometimes that we have such a complex existence from time without beginning, and it creates a havoc totally in our existence, life after life after life after life after life. So, in satsanga, sometimes we are told, listen to this very carefully. Those whom we revered in previous life or previous lives. So, those whom we revered, we respected, we honored, we esteemed, they also have taken rebirth and we also have taken rebirth. Now, those who are very vandaniya, very respectable, revered, highly revered, maybe they are today under your slavery. So, see how we mess up with our karma because of the wheel of Janma Mrityu. Those whom we revered today, perhaps we have detest for them. Those whom we revered for right reasons are in slavery under us. We have made them our slaves. Now, it is good that we do not have knowledge of our Purva Itihasa. And the ignorance of Purva Itihasa is blissful and also blessed for us. Understand how this life would have been in disarray if you realized that this was the person whom I revered in past life for right reasons, and today the person has become my slave. Now, this will discomfort you in this life. So, we are able to get our sukham, we are able to get delight, we are able to get pleasures. It is because of the ignorance of our Purva Itihasa, our prior history, pre-birth history, previous lives history, previous incarnations history. The ignorance about it is helping us to relish the conditions that we have today, which are relishable conditions. See, now what I am going to delineate has something which is entertaining, laughable to lamentable, fearsome, dreadening, and sorrows. Everything, make it sorrowful. Everything will be there in what is being now delineated. So listen to that carefully. So as I just now said, somebody we revered in the past life, and today we are having disgust for them, detest for them, enmity with them. They have become our aliens, for whom we did the Padya Puja. Now we are whiplashing them, we are stampeding them, we are having detest, dislike, hate for them. Okay, now one who was very revered, very loved mother for you in your previous lives, one who was your mother, whom you revered, whom you adored. Now that mother in this life has become your wife or even a mistress. It is possible that your Adaraniya, Pujaniya, Janani, mother of previous lives, one of the previous lives has now become your wife or your mistress even. What are we treating? See what mess we are doing with our mother of the previous incarnation has become wife of this incarnation, or perhaps even a mistress of this incarnation. So Purva Janma Mata, Purva Janma Pita, we do not know what we are doing to them today. So that's how in long run we mess up with our existence. The person whom we had detest, dislike, hate, aversion has become beloved in this life. So understand, if we take the scan of our existence, a person who was abhorrable for us, indeed abhorrable, justifiably abhorrable, a detest for the person in previous manifestation, dislike, hate for such a person, today the person has become our beloved. So this mess up is very, very complex, jatil. It's also obnoxious, kirasvana. It is absolutely obnoxious. It is also beshaming. And it is nothing but messing up. And therefore, wiser people understand that our existence like this, life after life after life after life, by intervening death, we mess up with our total existence. Whom we hated, perhaps today has become our beloved. Whom we loved in previous life is perhaps hated now. So we mess up with the love and hate, feelings, reactions and dynamics. Reverence and abhorrence, we mess up with all that. And therefore it is not a matter of pride to be going through 8.4 classes of life forms, from infernal plane to celestial plane, and several human manifestations, because of which we mess up with our existence. This is definitely not something of which we can be proud about, that we can be priding it, that we can be cherishing it. And therefore the people on superconscious plane want freedom from the very wheel of life and death. As long as you are on the wheel of birth and death, you are going to be moving time and again in human form. You can go from human form to subhuman form or superhuman form and come back to human form. So that's the basic life form, that we will return to a human form. And therefore overall we will be really messing up with our total existence. If we take account of our total existence, which is unobstructed, continuous, the death doesn't end our existence. The death is not really a death of anything. Death is a new beginning. So we have a new beginning, and then the new beginning, which is called death. Death itself is a new beginning. So the point is, in ultimate reality, it is important to be free from the karma chakra. It is important to disembark from the karma chakra. It is important to set aside karma chakra. It is important to destroy the karma chakra. Because if we keep on returning, we are only vulnerable to mess up with our existence. Like in previous manifestation or previous avatar or our previous life, if we had a person for whom we were totally indebted to the person, so we are obliged by that person, but we could not fulfill our obligation in that life, and in this life we are turning around totally. Rather than clearing our obligations or fulfilling our obligations, we are harassing such a person. It is possible. Say, for instance, for you to understand by an example, I can say if somebody was my guru in my previous life and I was highly indebted to that person being a guru, I had reverence for such a person being a guru, I was obliged by such a person, that person being a guru. Now in this life, I treat that person as somebody indebted to me. I did not clear my debt, and I am making that person indebted to me. So that's how we mess up with the life. Or as I said earlier, little while ago, that someone like Guru, whom we revered, not today, that person, we are making that person to subserve us by shameful activities. We make a slave of such a person. We can make a slave of such a person for whom we were indebted in our previous life. See how we mess up because of this wheel of birth and death. Because of loss of memory, we don't have memory about it. And then we mess up. We'll ill-treat a person who should not be ill-treated. A person who should be ill-treated is fine-treated. It is all because of these variegated, complexing karmas. The karmas are indeed very, very complex and complexing. Karma gati is gahana. The karma is indeed intriguing. Gahana karmano gatihi is what Bhagavad Gita says. And we are complexing it more and more and more and more by being on the cycle of birth and death. And we absolutely mess up with our life. We misunderstand people because we do not know the background of that person as well as we ourselves. It is possible that you marry your own daughter. This is possible. A woman, a girl who was your daughter in previous life or previous lives, one of the previous lives, who was your daughter, it can happen that you marry her today in this life. Your mother, whom you revered, as I said earlier, she can become your wife or even mistress or perhaps even a daughter. So, you are treating your mother as a daughter, you are treating your mother as a mistress, you are treating your mother as a wife. See how we mess up. And this messing up is the cause for all that sufferance that we get in our way. Maybe we'll think that what we are getting is delight and enjoyment, but the karma scope will tell you what is enjoyment or delight for you is essentially pain, essentially sorrow. What appears to you as virtuous is essentially vicious. And therefore, we lose any sense of judgment. And therefore, the wiser people have a feeling that let this freedom be from the very wheel, which is just exponentially growing my confusions, my messing up activity. I mess up the more I continue to be on the wheel. And therefore, emancipation from the wheel is sought after in spiritual pursuit. So for a person on higher plane wants freedom from what is called as bandha. What is this bandha, bondage? His bondage is that we go on appearing, reappearing, appearing, reappearing, appearing, reappearing timelessly. And the more we do it, the more we mess up our karma account, our karma sanchita. The more we mess up with our karma sanchita, more complex it becomes for us to escape from that. And that's why Bandha Mukti is the important idea and concept for those on a higher plane of consciousness. Bandha Mukti is to be free from cycle of birth and death. Essentially, it is to be free from cycle of birth and death. Now, so that's why this moksha purushartha has been held high, because the wiser people are positioning themselves on a high pedestal, and therefore they are able to sight and have an insight to the greater reality around them. Sometimes they get even the preview of previous life by being on higher pedestal. Suppose you are on positioning yourself on a tower. The tower is 50 feet. What do you sight around you? 100 feet, you sight more. Another, say 500 feet, you sight further more. 1,000 feet, 10,000 feet, 20,000 feet, million feet. So you start sighting something which is beyond your city. You start sighting something beyond your city. Like when you are sitting in an airplane overflying a city, you can see the outskirts of the city as well. While standing wherever you are in that city, you can't sight anything beyond your room. But if you are in airplane and if you are at an altitude, you can see the outskirts of your city, you can see the neighboring mafusal areas, or perhaps the neighboring cities as well, if there are twin cities. Then you start sighting the whole region. Then you start having vision of whole country, then perhaps the continent. So higher you go, you start having vision of greater areas, larger areas. So these yogis, the jnanis who get mounted on the pillar of consciousness, start visualizing something which could not be visualized by being on the ground floor or by being on the ground level. So as they go higher and higher in consciousness, they can perhaps sight previous janmas. Purva aparanta jnanam. This comes in Patanjali Yoga Sutra. And therefore, they will have a greater vision of reality, knowing the Purva Janma, Purva Aparanta Janma. Even Aparanta Janma will be sighted by them. The life yet to come also will be sighted. And therefore, it's a great dread for the wiser people philosophically, the life and death cycle. And therefore, the ultimate meaning of emancipation is freedom from the karma, freedom from karma bhoga, freedom from karma phala bhoga, freedom from accumulated karmas, and that is by freedom from life and death cycle. So that is why it is called Parama Purushartha. Well, finally, let me take a question which comes to a common man, because we all say it is fortune to be human being. Now, some people think that the freedom or liberation or moksha would mean that we won't appear again. So we will not be again coming back to this plane and experience the world. Where are we going to go? That is not the case. Once you have freedom from karma janjala, from the shackles of karma, when you are free from that, you have free will to come back. Without karmic background, you can come back and go back. Not that you are restricted entry back to mortal field or back to human field. It is not that the entry is restricted. You are not that you are prevented to come back and experience the human life, if you think human life is best to experience. You don't miss it. Even when you are liberated, emancipated, you can come back on your own free will. That's the freedom. So the freedom also includes your freedom to come back to a human plane, not bound by shackles of karma. So you can come back, you can visit, and then you can go back on your own will. We don't take birth on free will, we don't die on free will. But once you are liberated, you can come back, you can return to mortal plane on free will, and you can leave from this mortal plane on free will. So the emancipated people do come back, can come back, wish to come back. They have perhaps duties to come back, enjoined by the divinity, but they go back. Therefore, I will make a final statement here. What a great saint, not too far back, about 400 years back, Jagat Guru Sri Sant Tukaram Maharaj, the saint of Maharashtra. The saint of Maharashtra exclaimed on the point of departure from mortal plane, what did he say? Amhi zato amcha gava, amcha rama rama gyava. So he says, I return back to my abode, so please bid a farewell to me. So he appeared from his abode, which is Vaikuntha, and did his work as Tukaram Maharaj for upliftment of mankind. And then he says, now I am going back to my abode. That is why it is called Paramapada. If you come out from it, you again go back. And that is the plane where the karmas don't exist for you. Kleshas don't exist for you. Bondage doesn't exist for you. Limitations don't exist for you. Incapacities don't exist for you. So, even after liberation, you can come back as a visiting tourist to human plane, mortal plane, worldly plane. Not only you can visit here, you can also visit other lokas. You can go to other 7 planes of heavens on your own will and return back on your own will. You have freedom to go anywhere to be coming back to your own abode, which is called Paramapada, which is called Moksha Pada. So common man will have this fear, if I get liberated, then I will be not coming back here. Now that is not the case. Just as Bhagavan has avatars, he comes back and he goes back. Similarly, Bhagavatas do come back and again go back. It's all on free will. They come on their own will and they go back on their own will. While those under bondage, they neither come on their own will nor depart on their own will. We are bound. So that's the final consideration that I had to take today, that liberation should not be mistaken, that you are liberated means you go to an abode from where you can't return. Nacha punaravartate, nacha punaravartate is what the Upanishads have said. Bhagavad Gita also promises that you will not come back. But what is that? You won't come back into karma yoni. You won't come back to manava yoni. You can come back as human being, not being karma yoni. You will come on your own free will. You will stay as long as you want by free will, and you will make a departure from here on your own will. So liberated people doesn't mean they go to an abode. Though otherwise you will say, well, that's a prison. Now where is the freedom? If you go to a place from where you cannot return, then it is as good as a prison. But that is not the case. Moksha Pada is such a thing that you can come back and you can depart as and when you want. So we have freedom to move in any life form for any duration of time, and again you can go back. So that's the moksha. Don't think it is another prison. Don't think that there is another shackle that you are not allowed to escape from there. That is not the case of Moksha Pada. So this aspect of mysticism also is to be taken into account. So with that, we have considered the Moksha Purushartha, and we have enormous literature available as Moksha Shastras. Upanishads are Moksha Shastra. Bhagavad Gita is Moksha Shastra. Itihas Puran are Moksha Shastra. Shad Darshanas are Moksha Shastra. Tattvagnan is Moksha Shastra. So, we have lots of literature to really understand what is this moksha, what is the Kaivalya, what is this Paramapada, And therefore we have enormous corpus of literature available. So we have Dharma Shastra, Artha Shastra, Kama Shastra, Moksha Shastra, huge body of literatures. So the Paramartha Sadhaka, a seeker on the plane of Paramartha, looks into these texts and reforms his life or her life by Dharma Shastra, Artha Shastra, Kama Shastra, Moksha Shastra, Adhyatma Shastra, Paramartha Shastra. So, with that, we are completing the enunciation part. Since we are embarking upon Kaivalya Pada, Moksha Pada of Yoga Sutras, I thought, and it is indeed appropriate, that we know all the four Purusharthas as something which is very primary, basic information or education. And therefore we considered Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. All the four Purusharthas are meant for all the human beings on all planes, on all calibrations. Whether you are lowly calibered or highly calibered or averagely calibered, we need to pursue Chaturveda Purusharthas. And therefore, with that, we are ending the Prologue or the Prologue to Kaivalya Pada. So, namaskar all of you.